Welcome to the Financial Coaches Podcast, where we talk about how to build your practice from startup to scale up while being the kind of coach your clients crave. Finally, a podcast for financial coaches. Here are your hosts, Maria Casillas and Cody Sizemore.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Financial Coaches Podcast. I'm Maria Casillas, joined here by my incredible co-host, Cody Sizemore. We are here today to talk about some things that we think might actually be going on in your practice because they're going on in Cody's practice. And I think this is something that might be pretty common along a lot of practices, but I don't know all the details, so I really shouldn't say that ahead of hearing some of this. Before we jump into that, I just want to say thank you to each of you who has listened to any amount of our podcasts that we put out every single week just for you. We appreciate you. We are glad that you're here, and we look forward to continuing to provide as much value as we can over the next, years, hopefully. All right. Cody, you mentioned that you have something that you want to kind of process through, and rather than us doing that on our own, you said there might be some value for our listeners. And so we decided to just kind of do this right here live.
Yeah. So, like you mentioned, there's probably a lot of coaches out there that are dealing with something either very similar to it or maybe even the exact kind of situation, right?
Okay.
So I do think that it makes sense to talk about because we haven't really talked about this a ton, to be honest with you, up until this point. So what I think makes sense is I'm just going to lay out the situation as far as what it is, and I'll try and be as concise as I can without, leaving out the important details. And then I think I just want to hear your perspective on it. What your thoughts are. You're obviously welcome to ask questions and stuff like that for clarity, but and maybe even how you might coach someone through this as well. And then I can, after we kind of talk about that, I can then share what I've done up until this point. And I think that through that entire conversation, there's going to be a lot of value for the listeners today. So
sounds good.
So I'll preface it with saying this. I work with a lot of singles. I also work with a lot of married couples as well. And ideally speaking, I always try and recommend that if there's a married couple, that we all talk together, right? But what I've found is that there's so many married couples who either have their finances separate from one another, or there's married couples to where their finances are combined, but one person is completely hands off, wants nothing to do with it, has zero interest. In fact, they kind of hate it. And the other person has all the responsibility on their shoulders, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, anytime that I hop on a consultation with someone and it's just them on the phone, I always ask them is there a reason as to why your spouse isn't here? Or does it make sense for us to, get some information today and then set up another call so that we can loop them in? And, sometimes they say yes and we move forward in that kind of way. And sometimes they say no. And it's for various amounts of reasons. But in my opinion, I'm not going to say, well, if you're not willing to force your spouse to be on this call, whether you like it, whether they like it or not, then I'm not going to help you. That's not me. If someone's coming to me and they say, hey, I have a challenging situation with my finances and also a challenging situation with my spouse, they're looking for help. So I want to help them, kind of thing, So I've worked with a lot of people that are married, and I only work with them. I only talk to them. I only see them. And a lot of the times I have a good experience. It actually works out relatively decently. And then there's other times where it's a little bit more challenging. And this one case study is one that is definitely a challenging piece to it.
Okay.
Definitely a challenging piece. So that's the premise of everything. And I'll kind of fill you in a little bit as far as this person's situation. So I'm working with a woman, and she makes a really good income, and her husband has his own business as well. And his business is kind of profitable, but not really, kind of thing. It's just kind of okay, right? But as we went into this coaching relationship, I asked her about looping him in, and she said that would be a bad idea because it's a horrible piece of contention between the two of them, money as a whole. He also doesn't want to see it. He doesn't want to be a part of it. He doesn't want to talk about it. And quite frankly, she's like, it would just be bad if we got him involved. And I was like, okay, sounds good. Again, I'm not going to force you, but I am going to help you, kind of thing. And as we have found, I've been working with her for about 4 or 5 months now. Um, we developed a really good game plan. We got her all of the tools, all of the resources that she needed in order to succeed. And what we have found is that her husband just spends all the money, like to a egregious amount, to where it's actually not just eating up all of their surplus that they would have, which, by the way, their surplus is like $2,500 a month. So it's eating up all of that, but it's also going in the negative to where it's actually starting to eat up their savings as well.
Mm-hmm.
To the point to now, their savings is actually relatively low, and they're starting to reach a kind of like a crossing of the Rubicon kind of situation. And, through these months, after seeing the trends of what's actually happening, obviously I've encouraged her to talk to him about it. I've encouraged her to, do things a little bit differently. I've encouraged her to start those conversations. And I even said, like, hey, I'm even happy to talk to him if we feel like that is something that would be beneficial. And every time that she talks to him, he either dismisses her or he will just sit there and he won't say anything, or he'll say, okay, and then nothing changes. Um, it's just like this dynamic between the two of them to where, like, it's almost, in my opinion, kind of like financial abuse in certain ways, because the wife is coming to him saying, like, hey, like, I am struggling here. I'm working 70 hours a week trying to put food on the table, and you're going out there and you're being willy-nilly about everything. And not only are we struggling to pay our bills, but we're not making progress on these high interest loans that we have. And now our savings is getting depleted as well, kind of thing. On top of this, he has money in his business account, that he could bring home to contribute to the family, but he's refusing to do that because he says, well, I want to save money
Mm-hmm.
in my business. So essentially, he's having his cake and he's eating it too.
Mm-hmm.
All the while, the wife is struggling, stressed out. She's concerned about her kids and their well-beings and everything like that. And that's the long and short of the situation. It's a very challenging one. She has a lot of potential if things were actually like on the same page with her spouse and they were unified and they were, you know, working towards a common goal together, and they had a vision together, and they actually, like, cared about the well-beings of their family together. Things actually would turn around very quickly for them, like extremely quickly. They have a $2,500 surplus,
Mm-hmm.
and that's living pretty comfortably. Like they
Mm-hmm.
have like, if I remember correctly, I think it's like $800 a month of fund money, which I think is very comfortable. Um, but they're spending like 3,000 or 3,500 a month because of what's going on here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so you know, in my opinion, I think the spouse is kind of I think that he is financially abusing her, number one. But I also think that there are some narcissistic tendencies as well, because when she has brought it up to him in the past, and more recently actually, he has blamed her for it, saying, well, you're the one who allowed me to quit my job and start my business.
Mm-hmm.
And this is your fault that my business is not doing well and that I can't bring home money. And you're the one who is trying to pay off these loans, and I don't really care about it. So why is it my problem? And all these kinds of things, right? So
Mm-hmm.
there's all of this wrapped up in here. And it's being very challenging for for this woman. And I just wanted to air that out and
Uh-huh.
see what your thoughts were.
There are many, excuse me, there are many thoughts that are bouncing around inside my head today. My one of my questions was, what's his addiction? Because it just seems as though this is very addictive behavior. Now, you did mention that he might be narcissistic, in which
Mhm.
case that would explain some of the
Yeah.
addictive type behaviors. Um,
I will tell you that food is one of them. And
okay.
she has tried to communicate with him because she's out of the house working so much, and he works from home. That he's like, she's like, "Can you please cook while I'm gone so that we can save money on, groceries and eating out?" And he refuses to cook. And you wanna know
Mhm.
the reason why?
Um, because she let him quit his job.
No, no,
I'm sure it's her
it's
fault somehow.
no, no, it's really simple. I don't feel like it.
Mm, mhm, mhm. So that's it kind of I don't have solutions for you. I'm sorry. I
I don't
mean, we
either.
can certainly work through some of this. But here's why I don't have a full-on solution. First of all, I actually have somebody very close to me who has recently left a narcissist. So some of this is like, oh, yep, I can see some of that. Um, my question for you is, what I'm trying to think of the right way to say it. I'll just throw this out there. It doesn't have to sound good. What brought her to you in the first place? And what I mean by that is, like, I can see all of this stuff, but if she doesn't make a change, nothing's going to change. And here's the thing I'm hearing: she's willing to make a bajillion changes when it comes to her budget.
Mhm.
What changes is she able and willing to make when it comes to her relationship?
Yes. So, this has been something that I have brought up almost every time that we have talked. Outside of, the original conversations that we've had around like the numbers and stuff, like,
Hmm.
the audit, the budget, um, those weren't really pertaining to the relationship. It was more so of like strategy and numbers. But with the more open-ended meetings that we have had, this has come up almost every time. Every
Hmm.
time. And, I've always encouraged her to take that next step. And, I've encouraged her like, "Hey, let's bring him in. Like let's actually like try and work together on this and all of different types of things." And she's always said no. Um, and I can tell you that the number one reason is I know why she's saying no. It's not because she doesn't want this to improve. It's because she's scared.
Hmm.
She's scared of how
Hmm.
he's going to react, what he's going to say, how he's going to make her feel. She's
Hmm.
trapped.
Hmm. So with that being the case, and I'm not one to suggest that people don't make their marriages work. I just want to make sure that I throw that out there. I'm
Mhm.
actually a very strong advocate for marriage. Um, I also know that abuse is not okay, and it
Correct.
when when it's not a physical abuse, sometimes it makes it a little bit more difficult to pin that, like to recognize that that's what it is. And you can't, dare I say, shouldn't,
Mhm.
um, tell her she's necessarily being abused. However, if she's not able to put some boundaries in place, if she's
Yeah.
not able to change what she's allowing, then as much as I'm sure she's getting a lot of value from working with you, I'm just going to say she's probably throwing her money away by working with
Mhm.
you. Not because of what you are doing, but because of what she's not able to do
Right.
or not willing to do.
Right.
And I I'm just when you've talked to her about fear. Okay, so she's got fear around this. What is sh what is she hoping happens when she works with you?
So one of the things that she said as to why she wanted to work with me, I mean, obviously it was the normal things of like I want to manage my money better. I want to pay down this debt. I want to build up savings, all that kinds of stuff. So all of that is normal.
Mhm.
But there
So
was,
she is doing that, right? Like, it sounds like she is actually doing
she's
those
putting in the
things.
work to make that happen, but
Okay.
the work is being erased by the
Right,
husband's behaviors,
right. And
and mindset around it.
and chances are that was the case before she hired you as well.
That's correct. Yes.
Mhm.
So I'll say this. When she originally, approached me, she said that's one reason, but she also said, and quite frankly, with how my husband is and the dynamic that we have, I want to ensure that like I have the skills and the know-how of how to do this if
Mhm.
I ever need to leave him.
Mhm. Okay.
So that's another piece of this.
Okay. So it's crossed her mind,
Mhm.
obviously.
Yes.
Um, and that's probably partly why she doesn't want to bring him in fully because
Mhm.
she's sort of setting herself up to be able to leave. What kind of timeline is there for that? I mean,
I think it's pretty open-ended.
okay.
Um, I will say this, that when we first started, she had a lot of this debt and she had a decent amount in savings. And a reason for that was because she had just gotten like a bonus from work and also a tax return as well. So she started with me with like I think it was like around 9,000 in savings. So during that time, I think that she was comfortable to where it's like, while this situation sucks, I know that I'm working through it and taking the right steps and I'm getting started with this program and with Cody and like it'll work out kind of thing. But
Mhm.
now that things haven't worked out and now that the savings is actually down to less than $1,000,
Mhm.
now she's starting to have that like panic mode kind of
Mhm.
thing. And
Mhm.
she's like, wait a second, this is unsustainable,
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
know?
Well, she's given basically, I think, I guess I could ask the question, but it seems as though she's given unfettered access to this money
Mhm.
for her husband.
Yep.
Um, and if indeed he's narcissistic, he's going to continue to just take that. And even if he's not narcissistic, if he has any of these addictive tendencies, if the if it's there, if his quote unquote drug of choice is there, of course he's going to take it. And so I know that you started this conversation by saying usually, you like when both when both members of the couples work together.
Mhm.
Um, and I know that we'll probably say that in many ideal situations, you are working together as a team. And so your money is their money, it's our money, et cetera, et cetera.
Correct.
In this case, that's probably not the best route for them.
Correct.
And I know that you know that. I know that she intuitively knows that. What is she willing to do and what can she legally allow herself to do in order to kind of cut him off from
Yeah.
that unfettered access?
Yeah. So the last time that we met, we basically had a conversation around this. And, the conversation came with the fact that the savings is dwindling. There has to be changes. It's not a matter of like, well, let's see how this goes, or I would prefer that, it went this way or not. It's more so of like something needs to change.
Mhm,
It's very clear. Like what we've been doing isn't working.
mhm,
And what I've been telling you that we should do, we probably need to do now, you know? So I basically had the conversation with her the other day, and I was like, you're at a crossroads here to where I think that you need to stand up for yourself here, have a conversation with him, and just bluntly say, this is literally unsustainable. And I don't know what it's going to take for you to understand this if we need to lose our house. And I don't even know if that's going to be, enough for you to understand this. But here's what I do want you to understand. We are either fully going to work on this together completely, end all be all. Like you're going to start contributing. You're going to take money from your business. You're going to stop saving your money in your business and you're going to actually start contributing towards our family and start caring for our family, or we are completely separating every single thing. You buy your own groceries, you pay for your own gas, you pay for half the mortgage, you pay for half of this, etc., etc., etc.
Mm-hmm.
It's either a clean break or a total unified, and we're doing it my way kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Uh-huh.
your way does not work. And it's
Uh-huh.
an ultimatum. And I was like,
Uh-huh.
this needs to happen. And if it doesn't happen, well then there's your answer, sister.
Mm-hmm. A couple things, just knowing the small amount that you've shared with me. He's not going to do halves, just so you know.
Hmm.
There he will use that as leverage over her. So if you are going to suggest that she give the ultimatum that you just suggested, I would make sure that she's set up to be able to pay fully for the necessities that she knows she needs. So full on mortgage, full on utilities, all of that stuff. I know it's not quote unquote fair. That's not what we're looking at here, though. We're looking at reality. And so you don't want her to be paying half of a mortgage and then him not pay the other half and her still lose it. Does that make sense to
Hmm.
you? So,
Yeah.
so that's one thing I would say. And the other thing is, I would, I probably wouldn't even give him the opportunity to take his money out of his business account and give it to the family. He's already proven that he's not willing to do that. And so, if it truly is an abusive type of setup, I think one of the best ways to empower her is to allow her to, like I said, get her set up so she has the capability of doing this, like the know-how, which I know you're already
Hmm.
doing. Um, and then that she has access. Now, I used the word legal before because depending on what state she's in, it could be a lot more messy in terms of what does it look like for, if they're both on the house, for example, or if they're both on certain debts and that kind of thing. Um, but whatever she does, I would not have her give him access to the money. So whatever you work on the back end with how she pays the bills, I wouldn't give him access to no fun money from what she's making. I mean, you said she's working like 70 hours a week to try to make ends meet, but there's
Hmm.
also a $2,500 surplus. And so those two things they're not compatible. Like
Right.
either she, you know what I'm saying? Okay. So with that being said, if he can't have access to, so maybe she has to create her own bank account, her own separate bank account that does not
Yeah.
have and his name on it at all, and that's where she direct deposits her money. You see where I'm going with this? So it's a
Hmm.
lot less about trying to split it and make it fair, and it's a lot more about the just cutting off access to the excess for
Hmm.
him.
Yeah.
Um, so what are your thoughts on that as you just hear me saying them? Because you know this couple. I don't know
I
them.
think that you make a really good point, especially with like, the pushback that you gave around basically the ultimatum of like, hey, let's do this or not. And I think you make a good point that like a good indication of future behavior is past behavior.
Mhm.
So I actually do like the idea of like, hey, let's have like the joint account be for the expenses, like the necessity expenses. But then anything extra, yeah, we move that into a personal account for
Honestly,
for her.
I don't mean to cut you off, but, um, I wouldn't have a joint account for expenses.
So the only reason I'm saying joint, because there is one thing that I do need to uh
Share? Okay.
to share here, is that he is contributing in one way, and that's the fact that he has some disability money, like
Mhm.
VA disability. That's a decent chunk, um, and that definitely helps pay those bills.
Okay.
But more than that is what's needed here. And
Mhm.
really it's the control of the excess. That's really what the issue is. Like we don't even need any more additional income from his business. That would be nice. And I think that
Mhm.
he should do that just as like a man, you know.
Mhm. Mhm.
But even if he wasn't, there's enough there between the VA disability and her two job incomes to make this surplus happen.
Mhm.
And to
Is
have
there
that
enough without his disability to make ends meet?
while she's working her second job, which is a seasonal thing, yes. while she's not, no.
Okay. Um, because here's as just for outsider looking in. Let's say he brings in give me some numbers. They can be relatively fake or rounded, but what
Mhm.
does he get for disability? Just give me something to grab onto here.
Around 4 grand.
4 grand a month.
Yes. And
Okay.
she brings in, um, 8 grand from her day job and 3 grand from the side job per
So
month.
she's bringing in $11,000 a month.
Yes.
Okay.
They have a high mortgage.
I guess.
They have school tuition for their kids, private school, and they have daycare as well.
Okay. So why do they have daycare? I mean, is he actually working from home?
I I think he is.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, then that's fair.
Yeah.
Okay. So if he has disability, what's a disability?
It's a VA thing, and
Okay.
honestly, like, the VA stuff, the VA disability, I if you serve in the military, you can pretty much just get disability for,
Okay.
like, almost anything, so
Okay. All right. So if indeed he brings in $4,000 a month, here's why I'm asking for a number. If he brings in $4,000 a month, but wastes six,
right.
then he's actually a net negative, right? So our initial our initial inclination is to say, oh, but he's bringing in $4,000 and we need that. Not if he's also sucking out $6,000.
Right.
Right? So, for now, I would love to see her be able to figure out how to what would it look like if she could live on $11,000 a month? What would that look like?
Mhm.
Maybe she ends up saying, "You know what? The tuition for my kids is a little bit less important." Maybe it's the most important thing for her. I'm not putting a value judgment on there. But if she had to live on $11,000, I guess if I were coaching her, that's probably one of the things I would do. Is
Mhm.
I would start creating a new budget around $11,000 a month. Maybe even do one around what she would make without the second job because you said that that's seasonal,
Mhm.
and just see what that would look like, before she even has a conversation with her husband.
Mhm.
Because if she's not ready for that conversation, he will absolutely manipulate her and make her feel bad and make her feel not just unworthy, but unable to do the things that you're trying to empower her to do. So if he's willing to continue to pay for part of the mortgage, let him. That's great. Like, he doesn't want to lose the house either. Okay. If he's willing to pay for some of the other stuff, great. But even if he doesn't, and that $4,000 is used just for him eating out all month, but she doesn't lose any of the $11,000 on his quote unquote fun money. So add that $800. I don't know if 400 was each for them. Is that what 800 was when you said
Yeah.
800 fun
Yep.
money? Okay.
Mhm.
So now on her budget, that goes down to 400.
Mhm.
Right?
Right.
So, because he doesn't touch the money that's coming in from her stuff, but he still has complete access to his own income and etc. Now, hopefully he'd stand up as a man and go, my kids are my kids and I want to make sure that I pay this or I do that. But knowing what I know from the scenario that I'm able to kind of anchor in my mind from a family member, as much as he says he loves kids, if he's a true narcissist, it's not gonna matter. Like, he's only gonna do what's best for him, and he's gonna make it look like he's a hero in all of it. So,
Mhm.
so that's why I think boundaries are gonna be one of the most important things you can do to help her. And I just wanna make sure that it's a realistic thing. So if indeed the idea is I'm gonna protect myself by leaving eventually, but I'm also going to ask for full custody of the children and I'm going to, want to keep the house, or maybe I'm going to have to get rid of the house because that's how it all plays out and have to go somewhere else. Is she able to do all of that? And if the answer is yes, she's more likely to actually put those boundaries in place.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really, really good, and, I'm gonna be meeting with her again here pretty soon, and I think that that's probably what we're gonna do together in our meeting, is, like, explore that option and, see what that actually looks like,
Hmm.
It's a really unfortunate thing, like, the whole situation's unfortunate,
I agree.
but it's real life. And I know, and you know this, that she's not the only one dealing with this kinds of stuff. Like
Yeah.
this is actually I don't want to say it's common, but it's out there. It's definitely out there for sure. And it might even be common. Who knows? You
Hmm.
know, but I think that, even just talking through this is important for our listeners. Maybe they have a similar dynamic with a client that's going on. And just hearing this maybe gave them their next step with them. And if if you're listening to this and you're like, well, I don't have any clients like that yet, you probably will at some point. you know, so
Maybe.
take notes.
But even if they don't, I think one of the core lessons that can be learned from this is that not every situation is the same, and
Yeah.
the approach to every situation will be different. And I think we have to recognize that while some of our clients come to us for one thing, it's really something much deeper for them.
Mhm.
And they're sometimes we're not even equipped to actually help them with that thing. Like that's the other thing too. You're not a
Yeah.
lawyer, you're not a divorce attorney. Well, that would be a lawyer, but you're not a psychologist. Like so, there are certain roles that you, as her financial coach, won't be able to play. But a lot of the stuff that she's talking about, what you can do is you can help prepare her for if she ends up going to a lawyer, if she ends up going through some sort of divorce or marriage counseling or whatever. You are able to help equip her to be ready for that
Yeah.
and to feel confident. She has no confidence, and I keep saying if indeed he is a true narcissist, and I say that because it is a term that can be thrown about haphazardly, and I don't
Yeah.
want to do that.
Yeah.
But if indeed he is, he will strip every bit of confidence from her that you ever instill in her. And so I could see this hamster wheel going forever. She came in, she told you she's not willing to let him come in, that it's just a quote unquote point of contention. There's a reason it's a point of contention. There's a reason that he doesn't want to show up, because he's just not going to change that. And I love that you have a heart enough for her that you are willing to work with her even when her husband's not willing to change. But this is not the simple, I'm the one who just puts the budget together and he's not interested in this. And so he's just not going to do it. No. There's a very almost nefarious reason that he's not going to do it. And so that's not going to change. And she has to be able to change her approach with him. And
Mhm.
that's where I think that your coaching is going to have to take that approach, that direction.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I appreciate the insight. It was extremely valuable for me, and I know that there's someone out there listening to this that's like, this was super valuable as well.
Yes, there
So
is.
yeah.
There is. And like we said, even if you don't have this type of client, you can understand that there's something deeper, and it's okay to ask the questions to get to that. And also recognize that we aren't everything for our clients, and that's okay.
Hmm.
That's okay.
Absolutely.
Well,
Well,
thank you
thanks,
for
Maria.
doing this.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Of course.
So, alrighty. Well, with that being said, this is a fun one. But thanks for listening. And, we hope that you guys check out the episode next week as well. Um, and if you haven't yet, go ahead and join our free Facebook group as well. That is simply called the Financial Coaches Community by New Money Habits. Maybe even talk about this episode and say, hey, listen to it. Got this going on. What are your thoughts? We'll be happy to chime in a little bit. So
Yeah.
we appreciate you guys, and we'll catch you guys next week.
See you then.
Thank you for listening to the Financial Coaches Podcast, brought to you by New Money Habits and Sizemore Financial Coaching. Submit your questions to our hosts by emailing podcast@newmoneyhabits.com. Be sure to subscribe to be notified of future episodes and join our growing group of like-minded coaches on Facebook. And until next time, happy coaching.